Welcome to Digital Nation, your televisual journey of the cream of local TV. And from dinosaurs in Manchester to voles in Nottingham, we uncover the clips you just won't see anywhere else. This week, we check out the talented Tempers' original artwork in Birmingham. We revisit Grimsby's superstar presenter, George Kavanagh. We go behind the screens of the Edinburgh Film House and get up close and personal with a bird with binocular vision. Here at Digital Nation, we show you the things that are very local, but sometimes deserve a national and even international audience. In this next clip, Wolverhampton resident Aaron Bird, aka Temper, is an inspiring graffiti artist who's pioneered a new style that's already making a global splash.
A new art gallery in Birmingham is celebrating its launch with a new exhibition from graffiti artist Temper.
Our business started in Birmingham. A lot of our directors are from Birmingham, and Birmingham is our home, as it were, and it's also an amazing space for great talent. A lot of our artists are from Birmingham. So to find someone like Temper, who's globally renowned as one of the best graffiti artists in the world, and someone who's very accessible to us and who we know really well, just makes us feel really inspired and really proud.
Wolverhampton-born Temper took inspiration from a childhood favourite for his latest work.
The latest pieces of work that I've made available is from a collection called Popcorn, and it was inspired by my childhood fascination of comic book art, and because I used to read stories of comic books like without the words, I wanted to do a collection that was made, the pieces of the imagery was made out of words, which is my name. And what I did was I repeated the spray through one stencil 10,000 times on a painting to create an image. But like I'm the only one in the world that paints like this. And a lot of graffiti has like sort of stopped being on the streets and actually going onto canvas because they can see what I'm doing and how successful it's been.
Now, to be fair, I've got some pretty nifty dance moves, but can I move like a dinosaur? Unfortunately, no. So how can I improve on my Brontosaurus boogie? In this next clip, we'll discover how scientists in Manchester are using dynamic computer technology to simulate the movement of some very colossal creatures.
The central focus of the research is to try and understand how a dinosaur moves. To do this, the team used musculoskeletal reconstruction to try and build an accurate picture of how prehistoric muscles might have worked.
You've got three steps. Firstly, you've got to get a digital model of the skeleton. So for this one, we used what's called a LiDAR. So this is a laser scanning system to capture the skeleton, put it into the computer. Then you've got to rig the muscles onto the skeleton that you've captured. And to do that, actually, we spend a lot of time dissecting things. So we dissect emus and crocodiles because these are closely related. And you can actually identify exactly the same muscles on an emu as you could on a turkey on Christmas Day and on a dinosaur. So we can put the muscles on. And then the final step is we actually have to teach the animal how to fire off the muscles to make it walk. And actually, that's the really tricky thing. And that's where, for this demonstration, we've come up with this system as a way of activating the muscles in the dinosaur. It's not difficult to create an animated skeleton that just moves with the person. But what we want to try and explain is some of the sort of the maths and the physics. And so it's actually quite neat because if you get someone quite small, what they tend to want to do is dance in front of the Kinect. And actually the dinosaur just can't keep up. And then you can explain to them, well, that's all about scaling. So actually, just by slowing them down and getting them to move slowly, you can actually show them exactly how the scaling works. And they learn very, very quickly how to move around like a dinosaur.
A quick pop quiz for all you super Star Wars fans out there. Who played Taboo the Ewok in Return of the Jedi? Here's a clue for you. The same actor also appeared in Harry Potter Part 2. I'll tell you what, let's meet the man himself, who was very surprised when he got the call to play one of the world's most famous furry forest fellows.
Part-time actor Michael Henbury has been in several blockbuster movies, including Labyrinth, Willow, plus Harry Potter and The Deathly Hallows Part 2. He'd not considered acting until he played an Ewok in Return of the Jedi in 1983.
The lads at work and girls used to always play little practical jokes. And on this occasion I had a phone call from the Star Wars production. And I thought it was another wind-up, but basically a colleague of mine had seen an advert in one of the national papers asking that they were quite desperate to find as many little people as possible to star in their next, movie in the Star Wars sequel. I get a great report every sci-fi event I go to, but they just love Ewoks, and they are cute and cuddly, I suppose. But I have to say the actual outfit was a bit like an astronaut's outfit. It was well padded, incredibly hot inside, and the headpiece we could only wear for about a minute and a half. I was just in awe of how they built these sets. You go into what would be an empty warehouse, and they've actually put it on stilts and built a whole treehouse set. I think it was about 40 foot off the ground, and they had safety nets below just in case, but obviously when you're trying to move around and with the headpiece on, your visibility was very limited. My arse caught fire, excuse the language, because they had real fires in the tree houses. I tripped and fell over and fell about 40 foot into the safety net, so those are the sort of things you remember. And also the comradeship with all the other little folk. I mean, I've never really met little people up till then, maybe one or two, but all of a sudden I was meeting about 200, so it was quite an experience. You can imagine us going out in the evening as well. It was quite exciting.
Giddy up and meet Radar, a robotic horse helping people with a range of disabilities learn how to horse ride. And it can only be a positive thing, as it also helps people raise their confidence and movement too. Good old Radar the robot. Doing such a good job, maybe we should give him a treat. Like a tasty USB stick or something.
Radar is a riding simulator, and we are very, very lucky to have him. We were very fortunate to get some funding from Sport England, as well as we raised some funds. So we set off a couple of years ago to try and raise enough funds to get one of our own machines, to try and introduce as many people as we can to horse riding, including people with learning difficulties and disabilities, because it's very, very secure, it's very safe.
The needs condition is neurological attack disorder syndrome, and it's similar to epilepsy. There is a fair few people out there that's got needs, but people think that they're on their own. And I chose riding to be something to help me come out of being closed in. I started doing Radar, and I found my confidence in riding Radar, looking at my ways I could get out of my wheelchair because I don't like it. I can't walk very well at all, so it's a case of just doing little bits at a time. I've got my instructor Wendy, who obviously she's great. She's been a tower of strength through this, as well as my husband, but they both remind me what I've gone through and what I've missed, and there's no pressure to do more than what you can handle. They actually do what you can just deal with at the time.
Very possibly we are the only one in Lancashire. We certainly serve the bigger, wider point of the Fylde coast, but there's not as many people out there know about us as really we need to try and spread the word, really.
Over to Glasgow to meet Orla. She's beady-eyed and at full stretch is 7.5 feet wide. Plus she's got the ability to crush 2 tons with her feet. Sounds scary? Not at all. Evolution has perfectly designed this beautiful animal. However, sadly, numbers of this majestic creature in the wild are stagnating due to their declining habitat.
This is Orla, a 12-and-a-half-year-old golden eagle. She's been here since she was 5 months old, captive bred, 7.5-foot wingspan, and they estimate that each foot has a ton's crushing force. You can see by the size of feet and the talons, that's what they use to kill. The beaks only used to tear the food and feed. In Scotland, there's estimated 450 breeding pairs in the wild. But the problem we have is nowadays the numbers have been fairly stagnant for a long time because there's no habitat. Forestry plantations, wind turbines, human habitation there's just no territory left for new breeding pairs. So it's unlikely there's going to be a vast increase in the number of golden eagles in the wild. You can see there's quite a good relationship between Orla and myself, and that's taken 10 years to build up. And it's all based on trust, and it's mutual. She trusts me to look after her, she treats me like a partner, and I trust her not to do me any serious harm. If you get on the wrong side of her, that's when it can go seriously wrong, because the amount of power that she's got in her feet, it can do a lot of damage. A bird's bones are honeycombed, feathers are light, and that gives them the ability to get in the air. Her eyesight's incredible. She could spot a rabbit well over a mile away. Binocular vision, they just focus on line of sight and then follow that line of sight to pursue the prey. A lot of people, when they visit Scotland, they see a large bird in the sky and they automatically assume it's a golden eagle. 90% of the time, it's probably a buzzard. That's why the buzzards come to be known as a tourist eagle. Sightings in the wild are few and far between. Once you've seen an eagle, you don't forget it. It's unmistakable.
Time for a break, but before we leave you, it's quiz time. Which city's castle is built on a 340 million year old extinct volcano? Is it A, Norwich, B, Edinburgh, or C, Durham? Join us after the break for the answer. Welcome back to Digital Nation. Before the break, we asked you, which city's castle is built on a 340 million year old extinct volcano? The answer is B, Edinburgh. The extinct volcano is called Castle Rock, and people have lived on Castle Rock since the Bronze Age, around 850 BC. What do you do if you're a comedian and your jokes just fall flat? Well, young interviewer and Digital Nation favourite George Kavanagh is keen to know. So let's pay the comedian in training George a visit as he talks to the award-winning stand-up comedian Lucy Beaumont and see if he can glean some comedy tricks of the trade.
Do you ever do comedy acting? Do you have a bit of a flat audience that don't really get the jokes or don't laugh?
Always.
Really?
Yeah, well, yeah. Where have I had? Peterborough. Yeah, it takes a lot. But sometimes you can win them around, and then sometimes there's just nothing you can do with it, and you have to move on. Oh. But you have to have that. You can't. They can't all be brilliant. And the main thing is to learn from it. Is to work out, was it you or was it just? Sometimes, you know, it's been a wet day, or you know, there'll be a few people that you couldn't get in the car park, or wherever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's nothing you can do.
And it's nice to always have the audience on your side and laughing.
Yeah.
It could be anyone, and we all have different sort of humours and different style of jokes.
Yeah. A lot of the older style comedians who started off in the working man's clubs, they were just gags, you know, just like you'd get out of a Christmas cracker, really, but a bit ruder, you know, but they'd have just a setup and a punchline. And I like that.
Yeah.
Tommy Cooper, have you heard of Tommy Cooper?
Yeah, I have, but I've never really listened to any of his jokes. I've only heard of them.
No, yeah, well, he crops up on, especially Christmas and stuff.
Yeah.
He said that the best joke is a surprise and a funny picture.
Yeah.
And that's what all jokes should do. When you listen to a joke, it should be a surprise at the end.
Be, really.
And then you have a funny picture in your head. And if you think about it, it is really. But
well, it is, to be honest.
Yeah, I use that rule. If I'm writing something, and it does work, sometimes I'll think, you don't get a funny, you know, or you don't get a surprise, then I've been it. If you make everybody laugh all the time, you're doing something wrong.
Definitely.
Yeah. Just make those few people laugh.
I mean, really, the only really old-fashioned, old-school comedians that have made people laugh in our school is Laurel and Hardy.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And you wouldn't want to do it. You wouldn't want to really. And look at them now.
Lights, camera, action. The art of a film projectionist is very much behind the scenes. But no cinema could show those big blockbuster movies or those art house films without the dedication and skill of these technical and creative individuals. We travel to Edinburgh to find out more about this cinematic profession.
Years ago, I think it's how most people start, to be honest, working in a cinema just as an usher. Because I had a sort of interest in the electronics, the chief projectionist at that time asked if I'd like to do a shift. Kind of like an apprentice in a way, you know, you just sort of shadowed people, got on with daily run-ins and that, and filled in when it was necessary. Being a projectionist, it's like the last step in the creative process. You're there at certain points, like key points through the day, like when it first starts up, because you've got to check obviously everything, sound, picture, obviously you've got to make sure that it's happened in the first place. But then it'll progress into the trailers and then into the actual feature itself. So the important part is to be there at the start of the feature.
Have you ever missed a real tune?
Oh yeah. Everybody, there's not a single projectionist who's not done that, I'm sure. Multiplexes will roughly do maybe 14 to 20 films a month over 12 screens, whereas a place like Filmhouse, on a particularly busy month, we can do 120. My job is changing just now, and we're getting more involved into the digital encoding of stuff. There's always going to be film, and there's always going to be film festivals. So there's always going to have to be a need for someone with a technical understanding on how to deliver that film. We're never going to have like the golden age of cinema like we had before, but I do think you'll see people come back to the cinemas, you know.
Ratty, the fictional favourite from Wind in the Willows, made water voles famous back in 1908, when Kenneth Grahame's novel was first published. Sadly, this sweet little animal has become the UK's fastest declining mammal. However, new breeding sites in Nottingham are offering them hope. Notts TV tells us more.
This water vole, spotted near Cossall on the Nottingham Canal, could soon have a lot more company. Numbers of the canal-side critter decreased by a fifth between 2011 and 2013. That's according to the Environment Agency and Wildlife Trusts. But now, a new survey by the Canal and River Trust has highlighted 16 potential breeding sites in the East Midlands, including the Chesterfield Canal and the Grantham Canal here in Notts. But Imogen Wild from the Trust says the riverbank favourite isn't out of the woods yet.
Unfortunately, over the years, there have been massive declines in the water voles. At one point, they were really thought to be on the verge of extinction, so there have been major efforts by all conservation bodies to try and increase their numbers over the last few years.
It's canal and riverbanks like these with gentle slopes down into the water and long reeds that make perfect habitats for water voles. But factors like pollution, development and even predators like cats and minks are putting Ratty at risk. That's why the Canal and River Trust called on you over the summer to tell them about your vole viewings via a mobile app. It wants to use the information to protect the animals.
We're responsible for 2,000 miles of canals and rivers across England and Wales, and we've got something like 2,000 staff, so you know we can't be everywhere, and so surveys like this are really important, really helpful for members of the public to get out there and let us know what they see. The findings of the survey have been really exciting, really encouraging. We've had lots of sightings of water voles, which is absolutely fantastic. The voles have had a tough time in recent years, and so this shows that they're making a little bit of a comeback.
In this next clip, Great British Bake Off winner Nadia Hussain tells us the secret of her success on the hit reality show. And the legion of her faithful fans, known as her Nadiators, were not disappointed either. Here she is baking some tasty treats and recounting how her loving family was so shocked they actually forgot she'd even won.
The final of this year's Great British Bake Off had 14.5 million viewers, the most in the show's history. Her fan club called themselves Nadiators, and many sent in questions asking about her time in the competition.
What was your favourite thing that you made on the Bake Off?
I think I really enjoyed doing the cheesecake tower. When I was practicing that, my kids were asleep upstairs, and so they didn't know what I was doing when I was tinkering away in the kitchen. By the time they'd woken up, I'd had 2 cheesecake towers sat on the table, and they were like, there's a can of pop levitating above those cheesecakes. Oh my goodness, how did you do that? So they were quite mesmerised by it, and I was like, that's the one, I'm doing that. Even if they don't like it, I'm doing it.
Your daughter forgot that you'd won.
Yeah. So she was there at the tea party with Paul Hollywood saying to her, your mum just won the Bake Off 2015, those exact words. And I remember watching it every week, and she would sit there and like stuck to her granddad's leg saying, oh, I hope my mummy makes it through. And I'm looking at her thinking, I won! I'm not a massive risk taker, and I think going on Bake Off was a massive risk for me. And I think sometimes it's easy to be scared and not want to do things. If it makes you, if you think it's going to make you happy, do it, try it. It might not, but you know what? You tried anyway.
Granby 4 Streets in Liverpool is our next stop. These regenerated streets surprised the art world by winning the prestigious Turner Prize and changed the landscape of urban regeneration. But even more than edgy art is the meaning these streets have for local people as revitalised neighbourhoods and homes.
Fresh from the excitement of scooping Britain's leading contemporary art award, the Turner Prize, residents of Granby and the Granby 4 Streets Community Land Trust have now had time to take in the news and reflect on all of their hard work and passion committed along the way.
Surreal. We've just entered a new land now. We've entered a land that we've never explored before, a land where we are internationally famous. And who knows, we may have changed the shape of art. We've certainly changed the shape of how you regenerate streets of empty houses. What's happened here is a healing of years of neglect, of years of racial discrimination. And so what we're seeing now is the beginning of starting to heal that.
There's lots of news, lots of positive news coming out of the area, which means hopefully the area will start to get a bit more investment, a bit more change, more just more life back into it like it used to be.
As part of the project, 10 of the houses on Cairn Street, which were once derelict, have been completely refurbished, and we had the opportunity to see inside one, which is in the process of completion.
Everyone's just so pleased to see them being done up again. Everyone's so pleased to see people moving in. There's people who were forced out. We're hoping that some of them will come back, or the younger generations of those families that were forced out maybe 20 years ago. But it's really good because local people are getting these houses, and it's lovely to see.
Well, there was divided opinion last night when the announcement was made that they'd won this prestigious award, with some experts saying that it wasn't even contemporary modern-day art.
This is as contemporary as you get. I think this brings art out of its rarefied atmosphere. And OK, if it brings it into somewhere that people have opinions about and have disagreements and discussions about, well, that is good, isn't it? Because that means art once again becomes something that gets in the way, that, you know, that interferes with life, and I think that's all to the good.
And that completes our cornucopia of the best of local. If our clips have captivated you, then don't forget there's more you can see on the local TV channel's websites. Or why not get clued up on previous episodes by visiting bbc.co.uk/digital nation. Until next week, goodbye.